The show's about to start.
Come in, dear.
Let's get ready to shake, rattle, and roll with Graceland Glamour Girl, the one who puts the CC in rider, Miss Cece Glamour.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Glamorous Pink Rose podcast. In this case, another one of our TCB talks with Cece Glamour. As usual, I'm your host, and today we have an amazing guest, so I'll let him take it away.
Thank you very much, Cece. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody. My name is Nevan Castaneda. I'm 21 years old, and I'm an Elvis tribute artist as well as a musical artist myself from Aurora, Colorado.
Well, it's amazing to always, of course, to have you on the show, and even, of course, about to say always, because you're always welcome to come back.
There you go. There you go.
But tell us a little bit of how you got into Elvis and being an ETA.
Well, I can tell you one thing. It's really interesting because everybody has their own ways of getting into it. Obviously, I'm sure you know yourself. You know, she competed in Tupelo, guys. We'll talk about that. But yeah, so everybody has their own kind of way that they found Elvis, and then the way that they found the Elvis world, so to speak, right? But mine is interesting because I've been entertaining since I was 8 years old, and I didn't entertain doing this. I didn't have all this when I was 8 years old. I did theater, I did acting, I did modeling, dance, all that kind of stuff. So it took quite a while before I found my way to Elvis. Actually, it wasn't something that, I knew I really appreciated who he was or even that I wanted to do, that kind of music, of course. But so when I officially became a fan was, I believe, the date's always going to jump around. A lot happens over the years. But December of 2016 is when I initially watched Elvis officially for the first time. It was Elvis in concert, the CBS television special, which I think is really interesting because, as you know, that's one of his last works. And so I've always thought that that was interesting. I started my Elvis story at the end of his life, which I always thought was kind of interesting. So I watched that. Long story short, I can get as detailed as you want me to, but I'll keep it shorter. I watched that and I was hooked by this guy. I'd never seen anything like him before. I'm sure you hear that a million different ways, but I'd never seen anything like him. And what made me a fan, I liked him. And then what made me a fan was listening to him sing How Great Thou Art. When I heard that on the special, something connected really quickly, like your stars align kind of a thing. And I ran to the living room, tumbling over myself. And I remember going to my mom and asking her about him and saying, I'm watching this guy Elvis, and he's really good. He's really good. And she goes, I know who Elvis is. Yeah, I know who Elvis is. And, and I said, no, you're thinking of somebody else. This guy's really good. Look at him. And I was trying to show her. And then we watched movies all day long. She said, "Well, you're looking at him when he's older. We should watch his movies." So we watched the movies all day long. Then flash forward, I saw Joseph Hall was my first Elvis tribute artist, and then went to Grace, then went to Elvis Week, and then here I am. Long story short.
That's amazing because mine is a little bit, there's like similarities, a little bit of how I got into
Yeah.
it, but like that is
Right.
actually really cool to start from the ending and
Yeah. Yeah.
go like and then go back to the beginning of it.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. No kidding. Yeah. No. He. Elvis was like three different people. Each era was completely different from each other, and I'm sure, again, that's something that everybody could testify to, vocally, physically, just his whole energy, everything. He really, in the short time that he really had his career, it was about 22 years, 23. He really did a lot. He really changed a lot and evolved a lot. You very rarely hear, especially audibly as a vocalist, you rarely hear a singer change quite that much as he did, but he really did from those early Sun recordings to, the ending in the Jungle Room and all that stuff. It's two completely different people, different singers for sure. Yeah.
Like it really is. And that was something as a kid where like I kind of knew who Elvis was, except I always thought that 70s Elvis was a completely different person.
Right.
And then
Right.
you get into Elvis and you're like, this is the same. It's like watching a Pokemon evolve.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it for sure. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing, because again, I forget who I originally heard say this, but everybody has a little bit of Elvis in them somewhere, I think. And Elvis really did encapsulate, I think, just the epitome of so many things, but at the basic level, the epitome of just music and entertainment and what live entertainment should look like and feel like. And, for me, specifically speaking, it was just inevitable. It's one of those things I've always loved older music and older style films and all that good stuff. And so Elvis was kind of just like he was the king. He was the king of rock and roll. He really was. So, yeah.
Like, definitely, especially with like just how much he shaped music. But then even for me, being a huge Michael Jackson fan, so like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the funny thing was I knew Graceland due to him have been married to Lisa.
There you go.
So I was like, I have to. So my thing when I was like 10 was I have to go to Graceland because I have to see the tree that Lisa, like 10-year-old me did not care that Elvis lived there. I was like, Michael Jackson was there, and therefore I have to be.
Right, right.
Only to then later on be like, I have to go because Elvis lived there. And then the first time I went to Graceland, completely dismissed the tree and didn't get to see it until Elvis week in the dark.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the funny part. Like I said, and is it's different for everybody, and that's the cool part. Is again, we all love this guy, but we all kind of love him in the same but different ways. And and the way we all found him is drastically different from the next, especially when it comes to younger generation and the folks that were around when he was around and all that stuff too. So I love that. And I've met somebody as well that actually got into Elvis because of Priscilla. Matter of fact, they actually grew up knowing more about Priscilla than they did about Elvis because she was in films and all that stuff. And, she was a beauty queen rather, and somewhat that kind of a brand and persona. And I knew a gal that actually got into Priscilla first before she, fully embraced and got into Elvis and all that too. So
Actually, I can see that because I also knew who Priscilla was because I always loved her makeup, especially always
there you
having
go.
vintage style as a kid all the way to now. So it was like,
Yeah.
I like her wing eyeliner. And still to this day, if I have to do anything 60s, which is very rare, well, no, not
Right.
Elvis.
Right.
Now I have to like now it's like okay, I have to incorporate 60s makeup. And I
Yeah.
like half of it, I'm like, okay, I really hate this. So I'll go look at Priscilla, I'll be like, we'll
Yeah.
just what do you
I love her eyeliner too. It's
like
so
it's
good.
so cool. Yeah. It's so cool. But it's like it's really cool because it's not it still has that like touch of like the late 50s, which is like for me, I'm like, I can still do this. But once you start like for women's makeup of the 60s, once they start adding like little archway over the eyeliner, I'm like, no, this is no.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I got you. I got you. But that's kind of cool too that you mentioned the Michael Jackson connection because I was actually a huge Michael Jackson fan before I was an Elvis fan for sure. And as you know, recently it's been 16 years since Michael died, actually, not too long ago. You posted about that. I posted about it as well. And that was my first, I would say, I always liked music. I don't know anybody. It's crazy that there actually is people who don't care for music or don't like it, but there are people like that. But I've always enjoyed it. I've always liked it. But I'd say Michael's the one who really made it real for me. I guess like it just kind of took over. Just I think what you said it you kind of consumed you. You kind of like just got obsessed with it, and that's not exactly how it was for me. With Michael, that's what it did. He just completely it was a whole new world. He opened up a whole new thing for me. And then that eventually led to Elvis. So
Not like exactly like that's how it was. Like I did dance and
mhm.
did so I think it was like the older class got to do a really cool ballet number to Thriller. So
Yeah, yeah, right.
we're all like 5 and 6, don't even know that they're gonna have zombie ballerinas on the stage. So we didn't even know. So they had to go on before us. So we're all in our stage makeup and everything. You just see all of the older girls as zombies going on stage, and we just are all like bursting into tears crying. And my mom goes, I'm gonna show you the actual music video. That was the start of it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm terrified, but I can't look away.
Right, right.
And we just did, I think our what was it, our tap number that year was like Rock Around the Clock.
Okay, yeah.
for Halloween, I love Thriller. I was obsessed with Thriller. So for Halloween, I go up there and I was like, and we had this poodle skirts and everything. I go, can I be Ola Ray from Thriller? And my was like, Mom goes, how do you even know the girl who played it? I was like, oh, I went and researched her because I was scared of the music video, but I actually really liked it. This was also
Yeah.
the first version of I really want to wear a poodle skirt all the time, which I now own a real one. So
Right.
yeah.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. I love it. Love it. No, but that's the cool thing too, is again, people like Elvis or Michael Jackson. If you're like me, which I think you are, we're having this conversation. You want to know all about the person, the respective, where they came from, where they were, what they watched and listened to when they grew up, and what influenced them. And that little step, you're like, oh, I know what artists they got that from. And that's what I did with Michael Jackson, then with Elvis, of course, and everything else. And both of them have led me to so many different people that I've met, as well as obviously people that I listen to now and watch and have learned from and studied from as a performer and as a singer and vocalist and all that stuff. So that's the cool thing as well about people like Elvis or Michael Jackson. They're kind of the gateway to so much music and so many different influences and all that stuff. And I think there's very few artists that you just want to learn everything about, really. And Elvis and Michael Jackson, to me, those are two very similar people in the respect that they just had this almost spiritual thing about them that you just really wanted to connect with them and know how they were and what they thought and all those kind of things.
And it really is, especially, and then once you're like a fan of both, you've like very deeply dived into both of them, you really start to realize that they're very similar. Their outfits are so similar that you can take some of like Michael Jackson's pieces and use them for Elvis, and some of Elvis's pieces and use it for
Yeah.
Michael.
Right. Right. And with Michael Jackson too as well, one of his biggest influence, James Brown. Um, James Brown's jumpsuit designer was the same as Elvis's in the 70s, Bill Blue. They both were crossed on the same circles. So you can hear interviews of James Brown where he's talking about that. And he's like, oh, yeah, Elvis, he called me and asked me about how to do my jumpsuit and all that. And he referred, Bill over to him and helped him design some of those things too. So it is really cool how you can see kind of those echoes and those reflections of each other of kind of those artists. And have you gotten a chance to hear the recording of where Elvis introduced the Jacksons? Did
Yes,
you hear that one? Yeah, May of '74.
I
That's
love
one of my
that.
favorites.
Like
That's so cool.
it's
Yeah.
so cool. Like that one's
Yeah.
really cool. And then what I also
Yeah.
love, which I feel like is like a deep cut interview, although is Jackie Wilson, where they ask him if you were a radio DJ, who would
Yeah.
you play all the time? He's like, he just doesn't even hesitate. He's like Elvis.
Yeah, man. No, it's you know, you know that you've made it when, there's celebrities and then there's the celebrity. And Elvis was one of those people that like celebrities got nervous around and that they got flushed like, oh my God, this is Elvis. You have all these stories of all these people. And he was younger than half of them, or at least 10 years younger. He was the new guy for a long time. And he just he quite literally and very quickly kind of just dominated everything. And again, he came back so many times. 68, the films, the Aloha, but he just constantly kept coming back. Vegas, and he just constantly kept proving that he was this force in the business to be reckoned with. And um, if you weren't directly influenced by Elvis, you were indirectly influenced by Elvis. There was no way Elvis was one of those people that you couldn't be influenced by him somehow. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
It really is. And even with being in the Elvis space, that's kind of how it feels for me now with meeting so many people who played with them or they sang with them or they knew him best. And you go from just meeting them to where everyone now is like, oh, have you met her? By the way, she's, I had Gene Chrisman
Yeah.
literally take me by the arm to try to
Yeah.
get to sing in the Graceland lobby because he did
Yeah.
not like the two singers they had in the Graceland lobby.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's
He goes,
awesome.
she can sing, and I think she should sing. And I'm just sitting here like, and I'm like, this is all happening on my birthday. So I'm sitting here like,
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
so I'm
That's a
sitting here.
hell of a birthday.
It was first year. Elvis birthday week was last year on my birthday. And I'm sitting there like, I'm
Wow.
new here. I've never
Wow.
sang
That's
to the
awesome.
Holiday Sisters, and they're just like, yeah, we want her to sing now. And I'm like, I'm like,
Showtime, baby.
happened this year on my birthday for Elvis birthday week, and we're at Marlowe's, and my friend, I
Yeah.
forgot who they had performing, and my friend Terry goes, She sings, and I'm sitting here with a fried green tomato in my mouth, birthday crown on, and I'm like, and the
Nice.
microphone is right here. I was like, well, here we go. All
Yes, yes. No, but that's awesome though. That's awesome. And let's talk about that for a minute, guys. So I was in Tupelo, Mississippi this year, not even a month ago now, over a month ago almost. And that was my second time competing there, or third time technically. And there was a lot of different competition this year. It was really fun. It was kind of an interesting group of people, a lot of different people. And one of which was this lovely lady here in front of me. She came out guns a-blazing singing Mean Woman Blues and all that on stage. And it was like this jazzy, swingy, bluesy, just explosion, I guess, and it was awesome, and it was awesome, and I remember, watching it and see because I've been in a few competitions where there's female tribute artists as well and doing all that stuff, and you're always curious to see what people are going to do, and you just came out and just kind of wiped the floor with it rather. And that was awesome. That was really cool to see. And the fact, and I remember asking after that too. We were talking a little bit, and then you told me that I believe you're the great great niece. Is that right? Of
right.
BB King?
Yeah. All
Is
right.
that right?
That's right. Right after,
Yeah,
like, yeah, you were like, that makes sense.
that makes a lot of sense. And I was like, because as a performer myself, and because I've been doing it, people always chuckle, like, I've been doing it for so many years. And they're like, you're a baby. How old are you? And I'm like, I'm 21, but I've been doing it since I was 8. It's been 12 years just about. So it's been quite some time. And I've seen a lot of performers, over the years in theater and acting and film tell, a lot of different entertainers, right, so to speak. And so I really like meeting new and different entertainers and ones that surprise me and ones that kind of, just like you don't get to see those kind of things every day. And that was something that definitely for Tupelo and for that festival and for the whole thing, it was great. I really enjoyed it. And I think everybody enjoyed it. It was really cool. It was awesome. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm
And
glad.
then I did Me Woman Blues the next day.
Yes,
And then I did it the second.
which was honestly super cool, and I really
Yeah.
enjoyed
Yeah.
being Tupelo. It was the first time competing in Elvis tribute artist contest, but not the first time competing in Sweet Jesus mini contest from
Right.
to just singing in general to pinup contest, which to me ETA contest and pinup contest are like hand in hand the same thing.
Oh
But
yeah. Yeah.
very the only thing is we don't have a talent portion when we're doing pinup, but like same thing as how it's formatted because we go based off of outfit, personality,
Uh-huh.
charisma. We just don't sing, which thank God.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I will. But like the only other difference is the ETA space is fun because you can wear the same outfit and nobody bats an eye. And if you even have
Yeah.
the same hairstyle as another pinup, they will definitely shoot you the most dirtiest look you've seen in your life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and it kind of varies, contest to contest. With specifically with the ETA stuff, in regards to how harshly the judges judge things like clothing, and what rings you're wearing, and what necklaces you're wearing, or what kind of hair. There's certain contests that judge harsher on those things than others. Because I myself can personally say, I do have quite the closet and jewelry and all that stuff, but I don't have everything. When it comes, I don't have a million jumpsuits. I just got my first two recently. I don't have a million rings. I have a few. Actually, I just had to buy a few because they were all gone. I've either given them away or they've broken down over the years. But so it's I always kind of try to, like, I hope this is relatively accurate. But I mean, if not, I'm an Elvis fan. I'm an Elvis tribute. I do a good job, so I'm just going to go out there and do what I do. But it kind of depends. It kind of depends, like how they judge them the contests, and that's a whole other can of worms as far as contests and judging and all that other stuff goes. But yeah. So
Because I
yeah,
think the second one I'm doing, which is the Big E, was the Big E Festival here in Georgia, which is great because it's only an hour away. But
yeah.
I've already got the outfits and stuff for that, so I'm excited. I'm like, I
Is
know,
that David Lee? Is that David Lee's?
yes,
Is it David's? Okay. Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
yep. So
Yeah.
he'll be there, which was fun. I got to work with him this past January at my friend's birthday. So
Yeah.
she had David Lee actually perform at a birthday party, and me and David are talking, and it's so funny because of singing at Graceland for the tent and everything. So he's like, yeah, I got to go sing Valentine's Day for for Graceland. So I didn't even know he was an ultimate until he said this, right? So he's
Right.
like,
Right. 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 Right.
So I'm like, all right, cool. It's like, yeah, it's like I'll be singing there in August. He's like, yeah, I get paid to be there because I'm an ultimate and everything. So I got to go back there every now and then. I'm sitting there like,
Right.
and then he's like,
Yeah.
and then he's like, oh yeah, and I got to sing at Tupelo. And I'm like, yeah, I'm applying to sing at Tupelo. So I'm thinking like he means like he means to
Right,
compete.
right, right.
He's like, yeah,
Yeah.
because I won. He's like, yeah, because I won Tupelo. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna compete. And he brings his wife over. And he's like, she's competing as an Elvis for Tupelo. And he was like, well, any tips? He's like, any tips I have? Nope.
Nice.
And so it was really funny because I had to process. It's like I'm actually speaking to one of the ultimates, which is
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, you know what? As far as that goes, I think there's very few better ultimates you could probably speak to than David Lee. He's I've worked with him many times. I've hired him, actually, matter of fact, many times. And because I have me and my family have a entertainment company here in Colorado as well. And I produce my own shows as well here. So I've hired David, and David, there's a lot of different personalities in this business, like there is in any business, but especially entertainment, and especially you get even smaller from the entertainment to the Elvis entertainment world. There's a lot of personalities, and there's a lot of different ways people think and act and all that stuff. And David Lee, I can tell you, this is being honest here. It's people politically talk or this or that. This is just straight. This is slapstick. David Lee is, honest to God, honestly, one of the few people, because I've been in the Elvis world, this festival world, Elvis festivals, for 6 years now, which is crazy. And I can tell you, out of those 6 years, a lot's happened. And he's one of the very few people that, my opinion, when I met him and now, is the same. That's very rare to me,
yeah,
because once you're involved in the business side of anything, but especially this and the festival side of it and producing and hiring and everything else, competing, you see a different side of folks, of people, of all that. I won't go full into that, but David Lee, I can tell you, is somebody that, on and off stage, that's what you get, which is rare. And he's consistent. He's always been the same. He's always been the same, and that's a really cool thing. That's a really cool thing. So honestly, when talking to David Lee, like you were saying, that's honestly probably one of the ultimates, the ultimate ultimates. I'd say him. There's a few that are my favorites, and I'm not afraid to ashamed to say that they're my favorites. David Lee is one of my favorite ultimate winners. Dean Z is one of my favorite ultimate winners. And I'm trying to think. There's a couple more, but like when I say favorite, I don't mean that, no disrespect to any of the other fellows, but just in the sense that, just in every time you talk to them, every time you watch them perform, every single thing they do, you're like, they chose the right guy. You're like, that's the guy who should have won. And David Lee, certainly. I'm talking a lot about you, David. I hope you watch this. David David Lee is certainly a fella that truly does embody, quote unquote, what it means to be an ultimate Elvis tribute artist, so to speak. So, I respect the hell out of David Lee. I really do. I love David. He's a great guy.
David's one of my favorites. Another one that I like to think that personally he's like one of the underrated ones, but maybe I'm biased because he gave me a nickname. So
Yeah.
that Pat Dunn, who calls me Captain Sparkles.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go.
So like
Yeah,
every time I go to Grace, I'm like I have to make sure like especially if Pat's gonna be there, like I have to make sure that like everything sparkles. I'm like I gotta live up to the name. I have to live up
that's
to the
right.
name.
That's right. It's a title now. It's a title now.
I
Right.
know.
You got to live it, breathe it. That's right.
In fact, I love Pat. Like talking to him is hilarious, but then also like kind of like having a friendship with him, especially even this past January, where sadly, of course, he had the accident, and so
Right.
I had to find. I was like, so Pat, you were supposed to be at my birthday party at the Grayson Guest House. So I was like, what
Right.
happened? He goes, I'm sorry, I got hit by a car. I was like, oh my God, are you okay? He was like, yes, I'm okay. I was like, okay, but like seriously, I'm so sorry. I'm like,
Right. Right.
some talker was like, disregard me being sarcastic. I was like,
Right.
or in January.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, we're all attributing like one of the best Capricorns, aside from myself.
There you go. There you go.
I can say that I'm born a day before the man himself. So
That's pretty cool. That's pretty damn cool. Yeah. No, I can say, my kind of Elvis birthday connection, or Elvis dates connection rather, is my grandfather, who I never got to meet. His name is Leo. He served in the army the same time Elvis did, in Germany, in the same location. And he also died on Elvis's birthday on January 8th. So that happened. He was a huge fan too. He's a big fan, and he's one of those that everybody when he was in the service and all that too, and just in general through his life, he was a good-looking guy. My grandfather. A lot of people told him they would always say, you kind of look like Elvis. You look like Elvis. So he loved that. But so he kind of got that. He was a big fan. He served in the army at the same time, same location. They never crossed paths, of course, but same location, everything in the army. And then he died on his birthday. And then his wife, who's still around, my grandmother, Lisa Marie, died on her birthday.
Wow.
So it's kind of this crazy, weird one of those kind of like, how does that happen? Kind of things. And again, I had no idea fully who Elvis was, prior to learning all those things about how he connects to my grandfather and everything else. So it was kind of this, like just, kind of meant to be one of those things that was like, well, of course they were in the army at the same time. Of course he passed away on the same day. It's one of those things that like it's no accidents kind of a thing, like no mistakes kind of a thing. So yeah.
But it's still amazing to definitely have that connection, and especially
Yeah, it is.
like
Yeah,
especially just to have that. I think
it is. It's special. And I think it's special too, just because again, I didn't get to meet my grandfather. So it's kind of this connection that like again, it's like, making him proud kind of a thing because I never got the chance to meet him. And I heard he was the best guy. And I get told all the time, like, I get told all the time by people who knew him or my mother, whoever, like, oh man, he looked just like him there. Or the way you just did that just was just like him. So it's kind of cool to know that, somebody that's of course in my family, but I never got the privilege to meet. Um, that's another thing that we kind of connect with, in that respect that keeps us, kind of together, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah.
it really is. I think the closest I always tell people because I always ask, they're like, so what exactly do you draw from Elvis? And I'm like, just about everything. But like me and that man are so similar. Like even with, of course, with the about me part that we had with Tupelo, where Tom Brown is like, where he was like, and she nicknamed her mom Gladys because my mom and Gladys are so much alike, but me and my mom are so much like Gladys and Elvis.
Mm,
And it is
yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. 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 No, it's cool. It's cool to get to hear everybody's, stories and connections and stuff like that. And it's, you know, um, I actually had somebody who excuse me, I actually had somebody who I knew who their father, his name was Elvis, and he married Lisa Marie. He married a gal named Lisa Marie.
That is okay. That is actually amazing.
That's crazy, isn't it? It's
It
crazy. And I remember, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I just remember thinking, there's absolutely no way. And I was like, and you weren't born an Elvis fan? You didn't? She's like, no. It took till the movie came out, which is a lot of people, where this person became an Elvis fan, and it's like it's crazy to me. It's just like it's wild. It's wild to think about, and it's wild to think about again that it's been nearly 50 years since she passed away, and uh, I still, especially in Tupelo, like with the youth competition, there were so many kids there this year. There were so many younger people there this year, female, male, whatever, competing, just attending as fans or whatever. And that's really cool. That's really cool to see. It's there's nothing quite like the phenomenon that is Elvis Presley, that's for sure. And that gets confirmed every time. Every time I do a show or I go to a festival or whatever, and all that stuff, you see it all the time and you're like, uh, every time you think for a minute, man, it's been such a long time he's passed. What is this going to look like in 10 years, 5 years, whatever? Then again, you see a little kid, and another little kid, and then you see somebody else who became a fan. It's like it's really a special thing. It really is. It's a genuinely unique and special phenomenon that you don't see very often. You really don't see very often. Yeah.
Especially now with like the artists that we do have. So it's some artists where you start looking at me like, okay, who's gonna when time goes on, like, and we are now the old people on the earth, like, who are we going to go and say, wow, this was our person? I think we're still gonna say Elvis, tell you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. When Tom, did you say when Tom?
I was saying like I was saying that, of course, like once time comes and now the next current generation is older and
Oh, you
we're
said time. I thought you said
yes,
Tom.
forgive me, I have an accent.
No, you're good. I thought you said, I know it's good. I'm half deaf.
You're
I
like,
thought you said Tom, and I was like, Tom Jones, or who we? Oh, okay. I was like, yeah,
you're
I
like,
was like
you're like, yeah,
Tom.
that makes sense.
I was like Tom. Well, what about Tom? What happened to him? No,
And
but
you know what? That's another name in the Elvis where they were like, you say Tom, it's either Tom Jones or Tom Brown.
right, right. Exactly. Exactly. And they both move the same. No, they don't. No, it's no, that's funny. That's funny. I don't hear half the time. So I swear to God, I thought you said Tom. That's hilarious. But yes, like you were saying though. Sorry, I interrupted you. You were talking about time, yeah, and how the generations go.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I think honestly, it's going to be like it'll be great. I love the fact of being a part of the Elvis world, and now I get to have a birthday party without decorations. That
There
I
you go. There you go. Yeah.
we've made it a
Yeah. When's your birthday? When's your birthday? Is it January, you said?
January 7th.
Oh, it's January. So I should have just known that. When's your
So I'm
tired, man. I'm tired these
well,
days. I tell you what.
I
There
get it.
should be drinking. There should be a real drink in this cup. There's not. Yeah.
Like
Water. Yeah.
no, like it's always like it's been
Water.
now we went from it's fun to go from like going and now people give me gifts. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have one of Elvis's like driveway light bulbs. That
That.
was a actually that was my friend Terry gave me that as a birthday gift. Plus a Elvis, it's apparently it's the carpet shavings from his bedroom. So
Wow.
I have that and I'm like,
Wow.
if you're coming to the tent,
How did you acquire that?
my
How
friend
did she acquire that? Or how did, yeah.
oh, and this is very funny about Terry, and you'll meet her because she'll be at Elvis Week. So she'll
Okay.
always tell you that there's nothing interesting about you, and then she'll drop a fact like, "My dad put the TVs in Elvis's ceiling." And last year, what was it? Last year,
Wow.
what the fact was, I got. She was like, "Oh, there's nothing interesting about me." She used to work at St. Jude, and she retired. And she goes, "I met Lisa Marie and Michael Jackson."
Uh, yeah, yeah, nothing interesting at all, man. It's boring as hell. Yeah.
Except, or she was like, I did a fan. I actually did a documentary based off of Elvis fans. I'll probably do a continuation of it. And in the documentary, she goes, "Me and my friends drove to Graceland, and her and her friends. Okay, so she's in the car because she played chicken, and they jumped over the fence of Graceland, knocked on the
Yeah.
door, and then got told Elvis wasn't home and Elvis was upstairs. But there's nothing interesting about her.
Right. Yeah, she's humble. I mean, she's humble. She's humble, man. That's crazy though. That's carpet shaving. No, though, that didn't answer how she got carpet shavings though.
I don't know.
How do we know they're how did that happen?
Oh, she definitely.
Did Dave Stanley clean vacuum upstairs and dunk it in the trash?
Tell you the truth, probably. But then also her husband used to like actually do like the lawn and everything for Graceland.
Okay.
I have never asked because
I'm gonna ask. I'd be curious to ask. How did you get that?
my question is how does she has a okay, so apparently she has bags of just loose Elvis light bulbs from the driveway.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting.
So
That's crazy.
if you ask her about it, the next day she'll have them. She will literally be like, "Oh,
Well, you know what? We'll have a little powwow, Terry, because I recently acquired probably the holy grail of my collection thus far. And it's a kind of a unique thing like that. I mean, carpet shavings is really interesting, but I have Elvis's hotel room key from when he was here in Denver, from when he stayed here in Denver, Colorado, at the Hilton. When it was the Hilton back then, I have his hotel key that the police officers had, and I like it because again, there was several police officers naturally that befriended Elvis when he was here, and I recently acquired several items from one of those police officers that passed away, and one of those items was a full on. It's a hard rusted up. It's a key. It's a hotel room key from Elvis's room at his hotel when he was in Denver. So I so I made a joke about that on stage. Of course, I make jokes about that. I think I said this like a month ago. I said, "Ladies, I have Elvis's hotel key. I have his room key, and you can't touch it." And I was like, "Yeah, it's mine." I was like, but it's so cool. Anything you come into contact with things like that, like you said, it could be anything. Carpet shavers. I'm like, whoa! It's like it's because it's something that's connected to these beloved singers that we love and artists and all that stuff, and it's really neat. It's really neat to have anything that's closer, that's a part of anything that's part of you, those things,
clearly."
literally. So that's really, I was gonna say hotel key carpet shave. That's really
There's
That'd be
but
that'd be the most interesting display ever.
ever. There's a museum here, I know in Georgia, that has
Yeah.
Elvis's toenail, and there's another one that has a wart off of his back.
What?
Yes.
Really? See that's
And the
crazy.
museum that has his toenail sponsors the Big E Festival.
Is it really?
Yes.
Do they do they show the toenail at the festival or do they
I have, you
do
know,
they
I will be there and I will tell
I'm gonna ask David
if
about
you if
that.
you get a random picture of a toenail August 2nd from me, there's your answer.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lady. She's like, and she's very proud. She's like, I have a wart from MC back, and I'm like,
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if you made it as an artist, right? And you became this big artist,
it's
and either you're alive or you passed away, one or the other, you find out that somebody has your toenail on display, and
and
they'll be
someone and someone else has your back wart.
what? What? That's just like it's crazy. But again, that's the thing when it comes to people like Elvis, people take anything, you know? It's like they take anything that comes to anything remotely close to that person. You know, that's crazy. That's actually crazy, you know.
I know John Daly just like acquired some of Elvis's pajamas, and they're on sale, and I don't know how much he wants for them, but if they're a reasonable price, I'm like, I'm over here like, see, I'm like, here's the thing, I have now just finally learned semi how to sew, which is
Oh, there
amazing.
you go.
So now I'm like, if I get these pajamas, I'm like, and y'all see me at Grayson walking around in them, and there was an EP on it. Yes, you did.
Oh my God. You would wear I don't know if I could wear them.
Look,
That's
this.
Etsy.
See, I am a woman, so this is as close as I'm going to get to being close to.
Well, there you go. That's that. She said I'm a woman. There you go.
Listen, this man affects my dating life. So
I mean, no, I get it. I get it.
I am going to. I'm like, if I am going to have these pajamas,
I mean, yeah, do it. I mean, do it. No, there's a gentleman I know. His name is Russ Anderson. He is an Elton John tribute artist, and he does a big Elton John tribute show. He was here in Colorado. There's a couple funny things that happened. He was here in Colorado. I want to say a few months. Excuse me, I have terrible acid reflux. If you see me doing things like this, it's my acid reflex. It's a yeah. Ew. But he was here. He did a show, and most of his wardrobe, and I mean most of it, even if one of it was, but most of his wardrobe is stage worn Elton John's wardrobe. It is Elton John's wardrobe. He has capes, he has boots, and he wears them, and they're Elton John's stuff. It's Elton John's actual stage worn stuff. And I remember thinking, because of course he advertised that the whole time. I mean, I would shoot. But I was like, how are you wearing that? I was like, I couldn't do it, man. If I had those items, I'd keep it in like a pressurized chamber where nobody could touch it. It has to stay at the right temperature. And, it's like not a
everything.
one fingerprint on the glass or anything. Like I don't know if I could ever touch that. But yeah, he was wearing them. He did it the whole show. And he's wearing Elton John's real outfits. And another cool thing with that too is he's one of Elton John's like doubles that they used for promo material, which is badass. And for his last tour, the farewell tour, Yellow Brick Road, the Fair Brick tour, the Yellow Brick Road farewell tour. And it's on all the advertising. You see that image of Elton walking away down the Yellow Brick Road. That's Russ. That's Russ Anderson. That's this guy, this tribute artist who is a friend of mine now. And I have a T-shirt with that on it too. It's like, hey, you're on my T-shirt, and that's him doing that. And then the cool thing after that whole thing was after the show. And I apparently I was friends with him on Facebook. You know how many friends you're friends with people on Facebook? You have no idea that you're friends with them till you meet them. They come up to you sometimes, right? He came right up to me. Because I usually like to stay after the show. If it's an act, I really like to really say thank you to the group, say you did a great job and all that stuff, and talk for a few minutes. And so that's what I just planned to do. I just planned if he was coming out, just say great show and all that's amazing. You holding the stuff, but he came out after the show right away, and he came right up to me and he was like, "Nevan." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Oh my God, it's so good to finally meet you." And I said, "What are you talking about, man?" I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "We're friends on Facebook. I see your stuff all the time." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh my gosh, nothing but good things to say about you. I know many friends, you good friends with Ben Thompson, Dean Z, all those different people." I was like, "Yeah." he said they have nothing but good things to say about you all the time. And I was like, well, thank you. I was like, that's awesome, you know. So it's that was a crazy experience. So he owns get into the clothing thing. He owns a lot of Elton's clothing and he wears it on stage all the time, which is crazy.
Like that, like you were saying, like that's really cool to like be able, one, it's really cool to be able to find out that you can fit Elton John's clothes.
Well, yeah, right. That too. I didn't even think about that part. Yeah. Yeah, that you can fit in the exact clothing, right? But anyway, it's cool. Again, that's another example of just cool people you get to meet and cool people that they get to meet. You know, actually to actually be, you know, endorsed by and used by your hero for professional things like that, you know, is crazy. Because obviously, you know, when it comes to people like Elvis and Michael, um, you never have that opportunity, you know, even anymore, obviously at all that stuff. But to have that person still be around and use you for those things, and then actually, you know, I believe he bought some of it, but some of it was given to him. So to have some of it given to you by the person, you know, is phenomenal. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So that's crazy. That's crazy.
Like it really is. Because even I mean, just alone with even wearing vintage clothing by itself is already hard trying to find sizes. Which
Right.
Jesus was just
Right. Right.
antique recently, and we were going around looking for 50s prom dresses. And it was
Right.
always either one size was off or one size was like it'd be perfect and something else wasn't. So
Right.
just being able
Right.
to be able to just do that is like it's just really awesome. I luck out most
Yeah.
times, but sometimes I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, in vintage clothing, that's you know, that's always cool stuff to wear too. Like I have a you know who Cliff Wright is? The
yep.
Elvis tribute? He he he's famous for doing this, for handing down things. He gave me a an original 1950s type checker like shirt, colored shirt from the 50s that Elvis would have worn, a similar kind of shirt that is from the 1950s. It is actually from that time period. So you know, it's always cool to wear that and to wear things like that that were actually from, you know, that day and age and that time period and all that stuff. And, you know, again, it's one of those things that just makes you feel obviously connected to that time, to that music, and to that person, all that stuff, of course, you know.
Oh no,
So
like half my closet is basically literally from the 50s. Other half is from the 20s and 30s.
there you go. Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. So let's talk about you know, obviously it's this is like you said, this is how she said it, guys. She said the interview will direct itself. Or the podcast was just kind of fun. It was just kind of fun. So let's talk about like your other musical or myself or your other musical influences and stuff like that that we have as well. So
Oh,
like what's your background and your, you know, outside the Elvis, I know this is TCB talks, but you know, outside kind of the Elvis arena, what's kind of the bag with Cece? What's the deal? Yeah.
so a lot of the influences also come with my mom from being a professional singer. So I've been on stage.
Right.
I have been on since I have been in the womb. Like
Right.
that woman was close to having me on stage at one point
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So really a lot of the music influences I have, of course, aside from Elvis and Michael Jackson, is a lot of Motown. But
Yeah.
we've got the Rat Pack, we've got the Andrew Sisters. Like
Yeah.
a lot, like it's really funny where a lot of people don't know is I have, which we've been changing out members, which happens when you're doing a three-part harmony group. So I have another group called the Garnets, and we do 40s big band, but we do a lot of like the Christmas hits. So when Christmas comes around, we have the show A Very Merry Rockabilly Christmas.
Oh,
And
nice.
that's
Love it. It's
it's
awesome.
so fun. We do Frank Sinatra's what is it, Jingle Bells, but we also do
Yeah.
we have our actual Elvis medley with like Chuck Berry, and
Nice.
it's super fun.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. No, and that's difficult too. Talking about three-part harmonies, you're talking about harmony groups and all that stuff too. That's another lost art is trios and harmony groups, and like you're talking about Andrew Sisters and people like that. There's not many groups like that anymore. You know,
Not
there's not a lot of that's another, yeah, it's kind of a lost, faded kind of, so to speak, brand or way of entertaining, I guess, nowadays. So that's cool. That's cool that you do that and all that stuff. And trust me, I know that too. It's when harmonies come together, it's a beautiful thing. When they don't, it can be a very difficult thing. So you know, it's really cool to be in a group when that comes together really well.
oh,
Yeah.
I've been in oh my god, I've been in bad harmonies. high school chorus, which was an AP chorus that you had to
Right.
audition for. And
Right.
hey, I liked the song choices we had because they were in different languages, but me and my chorus teacher never got along.
Right. Yeah, that happens. Yeah, no, that happens. I was involved in all that stuff too, and advanced choirs and a cappella choirs and
Yeah.
Combrio, I think it was called, and all different stuff. And uh, yeah, it's that's the I think the always difficult thing for me with choir was, and I enjoyed choir. I enjoyed most of the people who were. I made some friends and things like that. But was that I've always been a performer. I've always been a big performer since I was younger, and I always perform no matter what. So that's the difficult thing is when you're a performer and you're stuck in a big chorus. The performer usually sticks out, whether they mean to or not.
We,
And that was always one of my difficult things with movement, my movement I would do, but also even just vocally, like just more stylistic, like myself, it's little riffs and like yeah, I was like whatever
yeah.
it's sort of that doesn't quite fit into like you said, a lot of those. I'm sure you dealt with a lot of old material, older classical, different language, bilingual material. And those are really tight, really strict arrangements and really strict vocal parts. And doesn't leave really much room, obviously, to do your own thing. So it was, difficult to kind of do that sometimes. And also just in respect, I'm sure you could relate with this, where I don't know, I always knew I was going to be doing this forever, like singing and performing. 90% of those people in choir aren't going to sing a note after high school, and after school. So, that was one thing that too always kind of was frustrated with. I guess I kind of disconnected with was the fact that I loved singing and anything related to singing and performing and doing all that. And I knew that most of the people there didn't, in that respect. Yeah.
Exactly. And I had like in our chorus class, we had a lot that didn't take chorus seriously and singing seriously. And then our
Right.
teacher couldn't play piano, so that was horrible.
Right. Right. Right.
So like, oh, so we did A Nightingale Sings at Berkeley Square one time, and it was hilarious.
That's
So
a great song. I
it
like that
really
song.
is. And the
Yeah.
soloist we had couldn't sing the solo.
Yeah.
So he gives it
Yeah.
to her because she's the class favorite, but I'm the note that she needs in order to figure out where the solo
Yeah.
is. So that what was it? I think it was like the night of the concert, she said something completely out of pocket.
Yeah.
I'm the note that makes her stay on key.
Right.
So my mom is in the audience. She's got the camera out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, if she says something, I'm not doing the note. So she
Right.
said, yeah,
Right.
because you're a nice person. So we have, and she has the footage of me turning and going,
Yeah. That's great.
and
That's great.
even being in like competitive theater, which is a funny sentence for anyone who's never done theater. But
Yeah.
even doing that with competitive theater, where most of the people are just there because it's a class you can pass through. But
Right.
but me acting since I was like, what, 3 or 4? I don't know. My mom was like, you were a
Right.
child as a kid. So
Right. 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 Right.
3 or 4, about 3 or 4, and then doing advanced theater and being able to do different accents and being able to just act on the spot. And you have some people who weren't. So I'm teaching them and helping them so we can win. We did not win because our second show we did was horrible. It wasn't horrible. It just was very
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I mean, I get that. And see, it's funny. See, now that you mentioned that song, I have that in my head now. Nightingale singing is in my head a bunch now. Like it's such a romantic affair.
And I'm sitting, and we didn't even do it in like its actual nice jazz tones. It was just very
Yeah,
choral. And I'm like, so we're not gonna,
wasn't stylized at all. There was no,
nothing.
yeah.
I'm sitting here like, this is it. This is,
It was very straight, just too straight, was it? Oh man, yeah. Nightingale
and I'm
sang in
sitting here like,
Berkeley Square.
this is not it. And then we did a medieval piece. Now this was like, this is where I'm like, I got this all day long because
Yeah,
nobody else in my chorus class could speak in Old English, which technically is Middle English, and that's a whole thing by itself.
right.
So we did a song called Come Again, Love, or also just known as Come Again. And
Mhm.
it's all in Middle English. And so they're all having trouble trying to actually sing like that. And I'm like, hi, I go to the Ren Fair. And now I work at the Ren Fair when it's in town. But I'm like, I go to the Ren Fair. So this is usual speak for me. And they're just
Right.
like looking at me like, you nerd. Yeah, I'm aware. I'm like, hi. I'm also the president of our anime club and called
Oh,
uh,
oh.
so I'm like, duh, in case you didn't notice. So
Right,
did that
exactly.
piece, and
I don't think you're making the point you think you are. Like,
Yeah, I think back that in high school, I was like, sometimes I think the bullying I got might have been my fault for saying things like that.
uh, how old are you now?
24.
24. Gotcha. Gotcha. 3 years older than me. Gotcha. Very cool.
So
Very cool.
I'm sitting there like, so I'm really sitting there like, first of all, I read comic books. And now I'm like, now I think about it, I'm like, that did not make the point you thought it did back then.
But at the same time, though, in this situation, it was helping, and they're like, "Oh, you're a nerd." Like, yeah, but I'm help. This helps with the task at hand, though. So it's like you're
Yeah.
critiquing me for something that's beneficial right now.
And I'm over here like, first of all, you guys need this more than I do. I'm like, I already know
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
that. And then I had to do a solo in German, and it was a very nice 1940s operatic piece. And I'm glad that I did that because now I can sing Wooden Heart like that.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I already sang in German. This is
You'd be surprised, and I mean, I'm sure you've had this too. Because do you do full Elvis shows, or is it all mixed shows too? Do you do like a
full.
full Elvis show as well?
So I do full Elvis shows, but then like for example, the Christmas show is an all mix show, but I do also
Right.
full Elvis.
Right. Okay. I was gonna say, well, for the full Elvis shows, I wonder if this is the same with you. I'm surprised, and I feel like you might be too, how often Wooden Heart gets requested. It gets requested quite a bit. I'm fairly surprised by that because I do shows, I do theaters, I do bars, I do festivals, I do a lot of the same stuff you do, all kinds of things. And it's been requested more than a couple times at different places. And I'm pretty surprised by it because it's such an unusual, I call it, I've never liked the goofiest, dumbest Elvis song I've ever heard in my life. But it gets requested quite a bit. So I've gotten to sing it now quite a bit. I've had to sing it now quite a bit, and I've had to learn it and all that stuff. So no, but it's a goofy song. It's
My biggest fear of songs getting requests is Old Shep.
yeah, that one's been requested like one time, I think, if I remember. Yeah, for my shows, and it's funny too because I think it was at my last bigger Elvis show. I had a 9-piece band. I had the 9-piece band. It was a big show, and it was like 650 people, 700 people. It was a big show, and I remember some guy shouted out randomly. I was making a joke. I was drinking water, saying something. He goes, "Old Shep," and I was like, "The hell said that?" And I looked back. I said, "Who the hell said that?" I was like, "Where you at, man?" You say Old Chef? You say, I said, where did you get Old Chef from? I said, man, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. And Elvis too. That would have been interesting to hear him sing in the '70s in concert because that was shouted a few times. I remember recordings. I think this is the nerd coming out too. June 24th, '77, when he's in Madison, Wisconsin, and that was the tail end of the last tour. That's the famous he got in a fight right before that show. But a gentleman shouted that out. I said, "Oh, Shep, oh, Shep." And Elvis goes, "Oh, Shep, oh, no." And he goes,
I remember that one.
"You remember that?" He goes, "Oh, I ain't sang Old Shep since I was 2 years old, man. So I was a mere child." He goes like that. And it's like, yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious, man. But it's surprising. And it's funny, too, because, people get the names wrong a lot with the Elvis songs. With like "Can't Help Falling in Love," they'll be like "Fools Rush In," and that's a song, right? But
It's
that's
not
not that
that
song.
one.
Right. Or they'll be like, Lord, this time you gave me a mountain. I'm like, it's gave me a mountain. Or they'll be like, caught in a trap. I'm like, yeah, okay. So they say all the different, these different names to the songs. And I would laugh because there was a time when somebody was like, Fools Rush In. I was like, oh, they mean Can't Help Falling in Love. Because that's what it always is. They always say Fools Rush In, and it's Can't Help Falling in Love. This time I actually got to the show, and it was a request before I did the show. I had it in my notes. And I went there, and they said, "You didn't do Fools Rush In." I said, "Thought you meant Can't Help Falling in Love." They said, "No, Fools Rush In." I said, "You really meant that song?"
Oh,
They said, "Yeah." And I said, "I'm sorry. Normally I'm used to people, especially in Colorado, because I'm one of the few, Elvis tribute artists in Colorado, one of the main ones here. And it's very, it's a different demographic than different parts of the country and the world. And they don't know Elvis that well, usually. So when they say something like "Fools Rush In," all that, like, uh, that's surprising because I'd never think that they would know those songs out here because in my experience here. But they do sometimes. It's funny when you hear some of those songs. "Mama Like the Roses." Somebody wanted that the other day. That was a rare one. Somebody said "Only the Strong Survive" not long ago. I was like, okay, yeah. So yeah.
Those are usually the types that I will actually perform. Is I love the ones that people don't think of because
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think Three Corn Patches. That is a new one that I will do. I'm
Oh,
like,
that's a great song. Yeah.
and that's because I saw Dean do it, and I was like, I like this song. I
Well,
must.
that's a great song, but see, I don't have the luxury of doing that as much because a lot of these shows it has to be the hits primarily. I do a mix. I slip in a rare one every once in a while, and I'll kind of ease them into it. But overall, I have to do more so of the hits over here when I do my main shows. But yeah, no, I love those songs. I love the rare songs like that. Or like I just did actually dedicate this to my dad. Um, I did the song "Softly as I Leave You," which do you know that song?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. There's and there's still some guys I even know that don't know that song. Tribute artists. Uh, that Elvis did in the '70s in Vegas. He did it in Vegas and Tahoe, and then he did it I think like only a couple times in like an arena show. But he doesn't sing. Obviously, he speaks, and he has Cheryl Nielsen do the vocal part to it. And I recently did that song as a duet with my backup singer Angie. I sang the vocal that Cheryl would sing, "Softly, I will leave you softly," and she did the harmony to it, and it was really cool. And it was really cool, and it landed well with another song that I kind of adopted, so to speak, into my shows a lot and kept it there was "In My Way." I love that song, and I kept that song in there, and it created a really nice moment for people. So, there's so many good songs. There's in Elvis's catalog, and the funny part about that is too is again, obviously, I call Elvis. I've called him that since I first got into the king of cover artists, because he is. He wasn't a writer. He wasn't a writer. He was very not that he wasn't an intellectual thinker, that he didn't have his own visions and thoughts, but he just sang a lot of other people's songs, which everybody did, back then. Everybody did at the same time. But another song that I like that I actually, funny enough, I heard from Elvis first before I heard it from the actual artist was Bob Dylan's "Don't Think Twice, It's All Right." Love that song. Do you remember that one?
That one, yes.
Do you
Because
remember that?
I
That's a great song.
because I love because it's funny. It's funny, like, and this is probably getting into Elvis radio because I have it in my car. My mom now has it like playing
Right.
at this point, and so we both like if we're on a road trip. We love when Argo is like on the radio because he'll play the deep cuts. He'll play songs that you don't think of.
Right. Right. Exactly. And it's really cool because I even still now, all that stuff, and that's why I never. It's really as an Elvis fan, and I always try to tell people this: never say Elvis didn't do this, or Elvis never moved like this, or he never sang this, or I don't. This I've heard all the song because you haven't. There's so much footage, there's so much material that we haven't heard that we hear all the time that's new. Like another song that I love that I think was done and recorded fully by Pete Storm, another Elvis tribute artist. But Elvis didn't finish recording. It was "Poor Man's Gold" in 1969. You heard that one?
That I haven't actually heard.
That's a beautiful song. No, it's a beautiful tune. It's got a great melody to it. It's like it's kind of goes like this. These things are a poor man's gold. And it's thinking she looks a lot like her daddy. These things. It's a beautiful song, beautiful tune, and it's he never finished it. He never finished it. That was in the same sessions as the Elvis. Goodness, I just lost the name. It just creeped out of my head. What is it called? No, it's 69 album. What was that called?
Are we talking
That's
Elvis from? Was it from Elvis to Memphis, or I probably got the album wrong?
from Elvis to Memphis. Yes, from Elvis to
Yeah.
Memphis. Yes, from Elvis to Memphis. Yeah, that's the album, and that was in those same sessions. And it's cool. It's such a unique time period for him too because, um, he was sick. Like during the '68 comeback special, he had laryngitis and he was sick at the time, and he was getting through all that stuff, and that created a really different, obviously, texture to his voice and to his sound and all that. And it's really cool to hear that different texture and projection coming out of his voice.
I laugh and I laugh because there is another moment to put on the tech of things that I don't get to have to myself that Elvis also went through, which is singing with Lil. Now I had pharyngitis, which is similar, but good God.
Right,
And I had to
right,
do
right.
it was chorus. I had a solo and I had to do You'll Be Found from the musical Dear Evan Hansen with a
Yeah,
difficulty part. So I'm sitting there like,
yeah,
we're gonna
yeah.
do this and try not to sound dead.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's such a vulnerable part of your body because you're always using it, your throat and your voice and all that. And I've been sick. It sucks because I used to say that I never got sick, and I used to usually never get sick when I grew up. I
Yes.
rarely got sick, and then I started getting sick, and specifically after COVID too. I've gotten sick so many more times,
Yeah.
unfortunately, after COVID. My immune system, my everything, every cold, every flu, everything that I could get, virtually, I've gotten since COVID, since having COVID. Even COVID, I had COVID like 4 times
Wow.
and all that, and it sucks, man. I hate it. I hate it.
Honestly, I came back from Graceland. No, well, I caught it at Graceland, which I caught flu A and thought it was completely something else. So
Yeah.
got flu A at Graceland, took a nap at the guest house bar,
There you go.
woke up. There was a Russian lady who had Motrin, and I have a friend who's actually a nurse. So she comes down with like the whole CVS pharmacy in her purse.
Yeah.
So we've got that going on. The bartender's like, I know you don't drink, so I'm gonna make you a special cocktail. And it's really cute. And it's actually called the Graceland Glamour Girl. So it's named after me. Another nickname I got from Graceland.
Nice.
And it's pink. And I was like, this is oh, we're like, this is perfect. It's pink and it's really fruity. It's just a bunch of fruit juices. Like,
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's awesome. That's awesome. No, but it sucks, man. It sucks being sick when you're a performer and a singer, obviously, and all that stuff. And there's nothing worse. I haven't had to do it many times, but there's nothing worse than uh, performing at not full speed and then performing and then and having to cancel too. Obviously, being able to perform, which I've rarely ever done, but sometimes you are sick, and it's just like it's can't do anything about it. But at risk of more damage, of course. And that's one of those things that I don't very rarely will I allow myself not to do a show. That rarely happens. Like I've done shows where literally it's like you hear audibly there's bad shit happening in my throat and in my lungs and all that stuff, but I'll still do it and all that. And that's I hate that the most. I think that's probably one of the most hard things for me is to have to genuinely apologize to an audience, to a crowd. That's probably been the hardest thing for me. One of the most difficult things on stage is when you have to, like, I just felt so rough about how I sounded or how I felt I performed. Like I'm really just feeling like shit. And and I'll just have to be like, I'm sorry, hey guys, I apologize. I'm getting over this. I'm trying to get, but you guys are still having a good time, stuff like that. Great,
yeah.
yeah, keep going. But yeah, no, it sucks. That really sucks when you're not functioning at full speed or you have to cancel it all. It's terrible. I hate it. That's one of the worst things for me as a performer.
Yes. The most funniest thing was I had gotten over flu A. It was several minutes. And then I had to sing, I had to sing a nursing home, but this nursing home was so cool. I was like, can I live here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, like they had okay, so it was a Viva Las Vegas night for them. They had steak, they had shrimp, they had surf
Nice.
and turf, and they had lobster. And I was like, can I live here? Can I? And
Check, please. Check in. Yeah.
I was like, oh my
That's what I
dear.
remember.
And
Yeah.
so they wanted me to do a whole Vegas theme set, and I did, which was really fun. And it's fun because you're like with the original fans. So they're used to, of course, seeing a man being Elvis. So they see me and they're like, you're not singing,
Right.
it's you. And I'm like,
Right.
I'll just watch. And I'm sitting here like, well, they're over here speculating. I'm like, Lord, I hope I can sing My Baby correctly. Because I haven't sang since I had flu A and it's
Yeah.
really left.
Yeah.
Plus I have to, I'm like, plus I did mine a bit differently because I was like, my mom is here at the show. So I'm like, I'm
Right.
not going to fully do this like Vegas Elvis.
Right. 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 Right.
Because
Right.
anybody who's listening who's ever heard Elvis perform My Baby at in Vegas, this man has a whole little moaning session going. I'm like, I'm not doing that in front of my mom.
You talking about My Babe? This song, My Babe. The
Yes.
Oh My Babe. That
Yeah.
song. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that song so much.
Great song. Yeah. That's a
It,
good. I actually have that. I'm doing that tomorrow night. Actually, Yeah, on my set list tomorrow.
I did. I love like that song is I
Great
love
song.
that song. And then what I'll
It's got
do
a
is
lot of grit to it. It's got a lot of edge to it.
and
Yeah.
what I'll do is if I'm doing a show and it's more we're kind of going that like more of that route, I will do high heeled sneakers and then I'll go into that.
Nice. Like how you got your high, that song? Really? You
Yeah.
do like a segue into that?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. With like a band or like a
So I do some more so I just do it with the track where I like where it
yeah.
lines up, but with where it
That's
lines
still
up,
really cool though.
so you get that. So I'm like, here is Elvis's blues collection of the show.
What inspired that? Because that's really interesting. I'm
So
curious.
honestly, what inspired it is so my mom likes high heeled sneakers, and it's mostly because of the one verse that every time, every now and then that Elvis might sing, where she'll walk around singing the slap that wig had on your head part. And I was like,
Yeah.
I want to do this because it's a song people don't usually do. And
Yeah.
like, but also my babe is another one they don't really do. It's like, but
Right.
like they both had that really cool, like they both are bluesy. And
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
like, and I went, well, I want to see what it sounds like if you do them back to back.
Yeah. Yeah. No. See, I love that. I do like that thing. You know, a show where those kind of inventions happen that's really good actually. Is if you because are you going to Elvis Week?
Yes, I am. I'll be there.
Awesome. Well, if you don't have this ticket on your list of tickets you're going to go see, and I'm not going to many because the EP events are so expensive these days, but they are. but one of the ones I always go to since they started it is the Dean Z Unplugged show.
Yes.
Awesome show, man. That to me really was a good addition and really did embody this is something Elvis would enjoy. This is something he would really like. Just getting down to it, almost like a 68 kind of thing, where you have people coming on and then you do these different arrangements of these different songs, of these, most of them rare cuts. And Dean did stuff like that, did stuff like that, where you change My Bay or you change a certain song. Like him and Gordon Hendricks, who won the Ultimate in 2017, did a really cool arrangement. I'll have to find it again. But I remember I was in the front row for it. I was like, this is great stuff. I was really engaged with it. And especially when you hear these songs so many times, to hear it done a little different, where you're like, oh, that's really cool, where it like inspires something new with it. That's really cool to hear. It doesn't take away from it, but it adds something to it. It doesn't take it, it adds. Um, they did a really neat rendition of, I want to say, what was it? Was it that or was it? No, no, no. Yeah, it was. They did It's Only Love. They did a really cool version of that song. And I remember thinking, I was like, holy shit, that was really good. I was like, that was like, worthy of the original almost. It was really cool. And they changed it up and they added different things to it. And I was like, that's artistry, man. See, that's cool because you're taking the Elvis tribute and the Elvis spirit, so to speak, and you're not evolving it. I'm trying to find the right word, but kind of, yeah, I mean, kind of evolving and kind of just putting a new face to it, but one that, I think, that Elvis would agree with, would be proud of.
Because I know it's really fun. There's going to be like I get to do the Graceland tent. What is it? The 14th and 15th. So I kick it off 12 at 12 o'clock and then 12:30. And so I'm actually doing a lot of new stuff. Doing this really fun medley that I call it the woman power hour because it's going to be hard-headed woman going into mean woman blues, going into I got a woman.
Nice, nice. It's awesome. That's awesome. And the tent, I wish for both of our sakes, I mean, you both got to get to the tent when it was still the tent. Because I caught it the year after they changed it. Because my first Elvis week I went to was 2019. And they just put that up. They just put up that exhibition center. And the Graceland, what is it called? Is the Graceland?
Elvis Presley's Graceland.
Right, but the where they have the tent, what is that one called specifically?
Oh, that's just is
I,
that
I
the sound? That's not the sound stage.
No, is it no, it's not the exhibition
It's not
center.
the,
It's the
it
Graceland
is the
something.
exhibition center. Yep, Mr.
Is it? Is
It's
it? Okay. Well, then
yep.
the Graceland Exhibition Center. But before they put that up, yeah, I came the year that they finally put that up. So I had just missed the tent. They just had it, 2018, the year before, 2017. And that was the real place. That's the shame because they took down Heartbreak Hotel, the tent, they had all these different things. So that, for a lot of people, was like one of the last kind of echoes, so to speak, of the old Memphis and the old Elvis week. Was that tent because, you know, that's where everybody started. It was really, and it was intense. It was outside, it was burning, and it was hot. Sometimes it was flooding. People's legs were up in water where they were sitting down or say or whatever, and you'd be out there singing in this tent. And that was how you started. And that's how a lot of them started. So I was really hoping to see that when I was first coming to Elvis. It was like, oh, this is part of the whole thing. You got to see the tent. I was like, where the hell's the tent? I can't find it. I was looking around, I couldn't find it. And I remember actually reaching out to Joseph Hall, who again was the first Elvis tribute I saw. And I'm very good friends with him to this day. It's another guy. He's a genuinely really good guy. He's out of the whole festival loop, which is cool. He does his own shows. He sticks to himself. And I respect that. Honestly, it's less drama, and politics in that respect. But I remember calling him and be like, Joe, where's the 10, man? Where's the. And he's like, oh, I remember them talking about moving it. And it turned out, yeah, they had taken it down. And that was the first year. And then Dean Z, of course, put a positive spin on it. Everybody was like, this is just some black box. What the hell is this? And then Dean was like, no, it's the Tent 2.0. And, he made it more positive, and made it more people more adept to it. But yeah, no, I still, even regardless, so I do wish for both of our sakes we got to see the original tent. But at the same time, it's still cool that they have, so to speak, the 10 and that kind of an event and that kind of thing for people to do, whether they want to sing, they have open mic too for the 10, then you have your slots that you sing as well. Because it's really important, it's a really important part of the Elvis Week construct. And, I've been doing it since I first got there. Since 2019, I do it every year. And it's something I always do. Actually, this year I kind of got in trouble because it snuck up on me and I didn't get to officially book a slot. So I'm hoping somebody drops out, and I can do a slot sneak in because I do it every year. And it's one of those things that it's important, for me to do it every year. Because again, I technically, really got my start at the tent and singing at the tent and doing it like a 25-minute set or whatever in 30. And I was a skinny, 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 skinny little kid, baggy jeans, braces and everything. And it was really cool. It was a really cool thing for me. And everybody was really cool about it. And it's a special thing, the tent to be at. So yeah, no, so I'm glad that they still do it in box form, with air conditioning and all that stuff. But that's cool though. That's cool that you're doing the 10, doing all this, because that's probably one of the best parts of Elvis Week. And there's so much at Elvis Week now, especially, but I still think that's one of the best parts of Elvis Week is that 10.
I had the tent. I know last year they had the award ceremony, which was very funny because I had a 19. Okay, so technically it is a 1950s wedding gown. However, I did not get to dye it yet because it's supposed to be pink, like the actress Dorothy Dandridge's, because we look alike. Did not
Right.
dye it. So, and I forgot that you can get married at Graceland. So I'm walking
Right.
into the award show and they're like, oh my God, there's a Graceland bride. And I'm looking to see who it is. And I go, oh my God, I think it's me. So my friend, who's an ETA in Canada, John Carpenter, he's dressed, so he looks like a groom, and people are like, you did good. You got a man who looks like Elvis. I'm like, no, 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 we're not married. No, no. And then they started like wanting to buy us free food, like giving us like free food and drinks. So he's like, I'm getting free beer to this, and you're getting a meal. I was like, you know what? Yes, we are married. Thank
That's right.
you.
That's right. This is him. This is her. Yeah.
And some people, and some of our good friends that I have there, they're like, you got married. I said, now believe me. It's like, if I got married, that means that that man in the backyard of his own house definitely resurrected.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny. No, but I mean, yeah, I mean, use it. Use it. Shoot, get drinks, get food and all that stuff, man. And that's the cool thing too, which you were kind of saying, is people just give you things. They start to give you things when you get in the Elvis world and the Elvis thing, and that's a really cool thing. Like since some of the first people I met, that I met at the Graceland bar, right there, the guest house. Um, we just started talking and everything, and then I was going on the Graceland tour, and they reached out to my mom, and they said, "Hey, what's Nevan's ring size?" And I didn't know that. I was 14 or whatever at the time, and they're like, "What's Nevan's ring size?" And they're like, "Nevan, what's your ring size?" I was like, "I don't." I was like, "I don't know. I don't wear rings." I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." But then they got me a TCB ring, That person's still dear friends of mine and of our family. And we see them all the time every year and all that stuff and go to their house and spend the night and have good times. And um, yes, it's been the same since then. And I've gotten so much gifts of jewelry, of rings, of necklaces, of uh, jackets, suits. People have bought too. And again, I'm never somebody who wants quote unquote charity or ever wants to accept a gift just for the say, oh yeah, it's good. Like I'm usually resistant against it, but people just want to give something, and that's really cool. To have people that do that. So that's a unique thing, a special thing. I'd say the Elvis thing too. And I've tried to keep that going as well myself. I've given several of my rings over the years to younger kids, little kids, and necklaces as well. I don't know if you recognize the little guy, Eli King. Is
Yep.
that familiar? Eli King, he's a little blonde kid.
Yeah.
Eli King Elvis. He's got a lot of energy. He's like 8, and he's not bad. He's got charisma. He's got energy. So I love that. And he's 8, so not everybody's Michael Jackson at 8, singing. But I recognized. I saw him in 2023 or 2022. I'm not sure which. And he had his little, that Amazon white Aloha suit on, and he was going crazy at the ultimate and dancing and everything. And I was like, I like this kid. I like this guy. I was happy to see a young guy like that, but I was like, oh no, he's really getting it though. Like I can tell he really gets it. So I said, you know what? I was like, hey, can I take a picture with you, man? You look awesome. And he's like, yeah, take me. So he took a picture. I said, wait a minute, hold on. His mom was taking the picture. I said, I think he's missing one thing. And I had my chai necklace on, that thigh necklace. And I took it off and I said, here, pal. I said, I think this is what you need. And I said, what do you think of that? He's like, wow, this is like hanging down his whole body practically because these little things just going all the way down here. But he looked at it, he's like, wow. And I said, now you have to promise me that you're going to practice and you're going to work hard and you're going to do better and all this stuff. You're going to keep getting better, right? You keep going. And all this stuff. He's like, yeah, I love it and all this stuff. I said, what do you think, Mom? Can he take care of this? She's like, well, make sure he takes care of this. I said, good, take care of it. And yeah, and he took care of it. And then the lady that gave it to me got a little pissed off that I gave it away because it was given to me. But I felt compelled to. I was like, he loved it, so I could tell he loved it as much as I did, little kid. So I was like, I'll give it to him. But yeah, no, but I think that that's an important thing. It's the spirit of giving and
Oh, yeah.
give when you can't give everything away. Sometimes you have to sell a suit or sell a jacket and sell it and all that stuff. But it's nice though when you see somebody you're like, oh, I want to give that person something and give it to them, especially when they're a younger person, because those things mean everything to a
Oh, yeah.
to a kid, to people like that. I remember it did for me when people did that for me when I was younger and all that stuff. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
how Mary Holiday, the Holiday Sisters, has my has my headband.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and that was once again, it was my birthday. Met him coming around with Graceland, and I got to sing Suspicious Minds with them. And she was like, I just love that headband. She's like, I wish I could have a headband like that. So I was gonna go to Club Handy's for my birthday. And they go, you have to come to the concert. And so I come to the concert, I run the jean, and well, actually I went to Target, got
Right.
a glittery red bag, put my headband in it, got a card, wrote in it, changed my outfit, went to Graceland. This is all in the span of like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Go to Graceland, run the jean. And so I was like, have you seen the Holiday Sister? Where we had left off, of course,
I
was
don't remember where we left off of. You were talking about,
Holiday Sisters and headbands.
yes, we were talking about people giving stuff. Yes. And you said that, yes, headband, that's right.
So went to find the Holiday Sisters. It was like, and I went, I was like, where are they? So they come up to me and they were glad that I saw the show. They were glad that I actually made it to the show and I had my bag. And I said, I have a surprise. And so they were like, what's this? So Mary opens the bag and it's my headband and she just hugs me tight and starts to cry. And I'm like, you can't cry. You go on stage in like 30 minutes. She hugs me. She's like,
Yeah.
she just goes, this is so sweet because this is something
Oh,
that Elvis would have done. And so like she's crying and now I'm crying and I'm like,
oh,
there's only like 45 minutes left to my birthday ends and it's Elvis's.
nice. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. No, that's what it's all about right there. That's what it's all about right there is, moments like that for
And I
sure.
came back and I came back and on my bed was the same headband. And my mom goes, I heard about what happened at Graceland. So she goes, so I went and bought the headband.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Restocked. Done.
That was that was funny. I came back to a new headband, a RCA Victrola record player, and Elvis 45 is in a vintage 45 sleeve book.
Love it. Love it. That's the whole kit right there. You're good to go. You are good to go
The
for
whole
sure.
Oh my
For
God, the
sure.
whole kit. Every and like the cool thing is every 45 record is actually authentically pressed. So they're really like they're not the repro, that they're the real.
That's the legit. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
legit ones. They're the OGs. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. That's awesome. No, but anyway. Um trying to figure out where were we going? Where we want to go next? I don't know. We've had about an hour and a half
We
almost.
have. I
We've
think
had a few intermissions.
I think this is going to be the longest podcast episode that I actually.
Oh no.
No, this is great. This is actually great.
Oh man. Yeah, no, you know what's funny is I always have to tell myself that when I go into a podcast or in the radio, if they're interview, whatever it is, that to try to not talk as much. But whoever I talk to, usually we end up talking about whatever and all that. We end up talking for a while and all that stuff. So, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, but but yeah, no, it's been really cool getting to do this and all that. And this is kind of a new series that you're doing, right? This TCB
It
talk.
is. Yes, it's a new series of so it's still the Glamorous Pink Rose podcast, but it's a new series, the
Right,
TV talks. Of course, with
right,
able to kind of pull more from the, of course, still doing all the stuff that I love with vintage and pinup and everything else, but
right.
also kind of coming to the heart and soul of Elvis fans, of just talking about Elvis, of talking to different ETAs and just getting fun perspectives of Elvis himself.
Right. And I watched one of your interviews. I think the last one you posted of I believe it was Taylor. Her name was Taylor as well, something Taylor, and she had talked about the lyric theater,
Yep.
the lyric theater and the tornado, and then
Being
Elvis's
on
first
it.
kiss and everything and all that. That's awesome. That's awesome. It's there's plenty. See, that's the thing is when it comes to an Elvis podcast or even just like this, like you said, whether you're doing an Elvis tribute thing or you're just talking to a fan or you're talking to whoever you're discussing with, there's just so much you can talk about, and there's so many different subtopics that you can go off into, obviously, and all that stuff. And I think the real takeaway from this is a nightingale singing in Berkeley Square. I think that's I think that's the big takeaway from this
Oh, yeah,
discussion.
definitely. Well,
No, no, but for sure. For sure, but that's awesome. I think it's awesome that you are, delving into, learning more about other folks and other things in the Elvis world, and it's just like myself personally speaking, it's just one of those things you just never stop learning stuff and getting to hear new things and learning different things from people and like I learned today, like again, that's another cool thing that I'm going to be hearing how that kind of would work. That high heeled sneakers with my babe. That's really cool. That's really cool. But yeah, no, I think it's really cool that you're doing this and allowing people to kind of jump on and all that stuff and just dive right into a conversation, new conversation like this. Because again, that was my first time meeting you, was it not? Officially, it was in Tupelo.
it was Tupelo.
That was our first time meeting, yeah, in Tupelo. And again, you made a hell of an impression on everybody, for sure. Definitely myself and your mom too. And we had a nice conversation at was it the Blue Moon? Thursday, what was it called?
Or the Blue Canoe.
The
Or
Blue Canoe. Something it
as
should
we're,
be called the Blue Moon.
or as we're all going to call it, the only restaurant open at Tupelo while
The
the
only restaurant open in Tupelo, folks, that serves food and is a bar is the Blue Canoe. And that's open. That's the only one open past like 10 o'clock or something like that in Tupelo. Everything else closes. So if you're ever in Tupelo, Mississippi, and you want food past 10 o'clock, you're either going to have to order Uber Eats. That's going to take a while. Or you're going to have to go down to the Blue Canoe. That is where you're going to have to eat. Or pay $5 for a bag of Cheetos at the hotel you're at or whatever.
or or you have to take the other route and drive exactly an hour and go to and go to Memphis.
Or that too. Or you can do that too. I've done that as well. No, but yeah, no, that was a fun time. That was a fun conversation. Another fun fact too about her folks is I don't know if you can tell through the video through the podcast. you have the craziest cool blue eyes ever. They are so pretty, crystal clear blue eyes. Like, and I remember when I first saw you at the in Tupelo at the registration thing. At first I thought it was contacts. I was like, oh, that's cool. She's got contacts and all that stuff. And I walked past, and I came in, then I was saying her mom, and I was like, no, those aren't contacts. I was like, that's her real eyes. Oh my God, that's you were blessed with the gene, with golden genes, I guess, with the golden. God's like, you know, you're gonna have this because she has these crazy cool eyes, man. Like really cool. Yeah, really cool. Like I have decent eyes, but they're pretty. She's got good looking eyes, guys. They're very pretty.
Oh, so that that is a thing that you don't hear every day. And even being a pinup, I've heard just about everything you could think of except that.
What? The eyes?
Oh yeah, I've heard everything you can think of. I have heard compliments on legs. I have heard compliments on drop. Well, to be fair, when you go to car shows, most of the men are like 60s and up. So I mean,
Well, that's true. So they're like, "Whoa, this is exciting."
yeah, the amount of cars that I get to sit in, which is so nice.
Right. I'll bet. I'll bet. Yeah, no, that's funny. But no, your eyes though, seriously, your eyes are gorgeous, man. It's like it's you compliment. I always say I give credit where it's due to people. And when you notice something like that that stands out like that, you got to appreciate that. So she's got these crazy cool blue eyes. So everybody that meets her just go right up to her, just right at her because they're really cool. Because they're really cool. But and like I said, that's the curse is I have decent eyes too, but I have such small eyes. So people can't even hardly see my eyes. She's got these big, piercing blue eyes. They're so nice. You guys got to see them. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Wanted to point that out.
I think, this is probably the best good point to start wrapping up the show. But another
That's
thing,
right. That's right.
before ending it, another thing that I do want to add is even though
Yeah.
we were all a lot of people's fan favorites, apparently my dog was the biggest fan favorite of everybody.
Oh, I know the dog. Yeah, the dog. I love the dog hanging about. Yeah, I know the dog. What was the dog's name again?
Nyla.
Nyla. Nyla. I love Nyla hanging out. That was great. That was great. Yeah, you should have had Nyla a part of your Mean Woman Blues bit. That would have been fun. Or no, you should have done Edge of Reality and then had Nyla up there, the dog.
Considering that she's watched all the Elvis movies with me, she do it.
I was gonna say Edge of Reality. You need to do the scene where he's
He's got
broken
the
down
dog.
and you have the dog in there. You need to have that in there. Yeah.
I've been trying to train her to sit on a pillow. And my mom just goes, "You were not making her do the hound dog bit where he had to sit."
Right, do the yeah.
The difference is, I'm like, she likes us on hound dog, and she's adorable.
See, I can't do none of that. I have a cat. And he don't give a damn about anything. So
Like
uh,
I'm like, you play hound dog, you play jailhouse rock and suspicious minds, and she's like, yes,
awesome.
she will. She will legit actually dance. Like she has a jailhouse rock shirt.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I, I talk to the dog like she's a person, so I'm trying to convince her that she needs a jumpsuit for Halloween.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She looks at
How,
me.
is she being receptive so far? Is she buying into it?
She
You
looks at
think?
me every time I go, "You should get a jumpsuit." She'll turn around and go,
Yeah.
like, okay, okay, fine.
Yeah. No, well, I hope we get a chance to see that. I hope we get a chance to see that. But if it's anything like your outfits and everything else, I'm sure it'll be
Oh,
great.
definitely. Oh,
It'll
definitely.
but anywho, as you said, kind of wrapping. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it, and I appreciate that you're doing this, and you're allowing everybody to come and speak and just talk about their stories and with Elvis and what have you and all that stuff. I think that's great, and I wish you the best of luck with the podcast. I hope to be back on sometime in the future. Um, and I'm sure you're going to get all kinds of fun content when you go to Elvis Week as well and different things
Oh, definitely.
for this for sure. So once again, I appreciate it. And again, how quickly, you kind of got this together and we figured this out. And I'm glad, like I said, because I thought, again, my brain, this is the entertainer brain. I thought it was yesterday, guys. I thought Monday was start of the week and start of the month was July. But no, today's July. So I thought it was going to be yesterday. And thankfully, I didn't get ready yet or anything like that yet. But it was figured out. Good to go. But I just want to say, I appreciate it. Appreciate having
Of
me.
course. And like I said, I would love to have you back on the show anytime.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, no, and we'll talk about, whatever else. And again, about other music too, that's another thing, like I said, because you have such a big background in music. I have a lot of background in music and different stuff too and all that. And, I think part of TCB Talks, that's one of those things. It's just like Elvis loved music. He loved music, so let's talk about music as well.
Exactly.
For
Well,
sure, for sure.
well, as we like to say on the show, it's time to shake, rattle, and roll out. And until next time.
You got it. You got it. All right. Thank you, CC. I appreciate you.
And now, our song of the day for our episode.
Fools rush in where angels fear to tread, and so I come to you, my love, my heart above my head. Though I see the danger there, if there's a chance for me, and I don't care. Oh, fools rush in where wise men never go. Wise men never fall in love, so how are they to know? When we met, I felt my life begin. So open up your heart and let this fool rush in. And I don't care. Oh, fools rush in where wise men never go, but wise men never fall in love, so how are they to know? When we met, I felt my life begin. So open up your heart and let this fool rush in. So open up your heart and let this fool rush in. So open up your heart and let this fool rush in. So open up your heart and let this fool rush in. So open up your heart and let this fool rush in.
The Glamorous Pink Rider podcast is proud to sponsor don't forget, you can watch us on any network you get your podcasts on, such as Spotify, iHeartRadio Podcasts, CastBox, YouTube, all under the Glamorous Pink Writers Podcast, brought to you by Cece Glamour. And remember, stay cool, cool cats.